back against imposter syndrome. Welcome to the School of Self-Worth Live. I'm Sam Osborne, the Self-Worth Guy, and this is episode 138. Today, I'm reviewing a Forbes blog article named How to Fight Back Against Imposter Syndrome. And this article is by Jack Kelly. He's a senior contributor. So I'm just going to go through. There's a cool looking picture there. I like how the pictures to do with imposter syndrome always have this, someone's face and they've either got a mask or they're hiding themselves. And this one's really cool. It's like a piece of mirror covering their eyes and it's sort of askew to where the eyes really are. That's a cool image for trying to get a different sort of idea about what imposter syndrome is. And that the idea of the mirror there suggests me that to solve imposter syndrome requires a reflection upon ourselves and a refinement of who we think we are. And in fact, Jack goes into it a little bit in this document. I'm just going to go through my notes here with you. So first of all, he says, look, extensive research has been conducted on imposter syndrome for a long time, and the experts point to certain personality types that are particularly impacted by imposter syndrome, and they include people who may self-identify with being a perfectionist, a superwoman, a superman, a natural genius or expert. And here's what I have to say about that is that note how self-identifying, that is thinking of who you are or defining who you are, influences imposter syndrome. So the very important point here is that the choices you make about who you think you are has a massive influence on whether you experience imposter syndrome or not. So let's take those four things in time. So let's say you're a perfectionist. So I'm going to say I believe that this suggests that people should upgrade their self-concept and reframe who they are. So a perfectionist, you're not someone who's like stressing out like, oh my gosh, it's got to be perfect, otherwise I'm a failure, and then imposter syndrome can come out because you'll be found out to be a fraud and you don't really know your thing. Instead of thinking and identifying as a perfectionist in that way, start to reframe what a perfectionist is and think, I have a high value on good quality work. That's a great strength to have, to say, yeah, I'm a proud perfectionist. I like my work to be good. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a fantastic quality. So don't just think I must be a perfectionist and I cannot make mistakes. Think, well, that's one part of it, but the other side is you really want to do a good job. That is something to be proud of. So don't worry about being a perfectionist. It's actually a good thing. Also, in terms of if you think that you have to be a Superman or a Superwoman and get everything done, and you have to be the hero of the situation, just remember that all superheroes, especially Superman, has a weakness, and that is kryptonite. So what's your kryptonite? It's okay to have your weakness. It's going to come along sometimes. So don't try to complete everything, and just remember that, even superheroes need a day off sometime, and from fighting crime and trying to solve all the problems of the world. And if you remember, Superman came from another planet by accident, and he kind of got dumped on planet Earth to fix up some stuff. But you don't have to solve everything as a superhuman. You don't have to try and be a Superman or a Superwoman. Also, natural geniuses can benefit from making mistakes and creative goofing off periods or times where you're not working on something. In fact, there's been a lot of research that says if you work really hard on a problem, and then you take a little break, whether that's a day or two, that gives your brain time to marinate on all the hard work and the ideas that you've been thinking about and brainstorming on. And then usually the aha moment comes, the surprise, the innovation will come after a period of saying, you know what, I'm going to take a day off from trying to be a genius and try to get everything perfect and be the superhuman. Allow yourself some breathing space in your mind for the good ideas and your expertise to come out. You don't have to try and constantly be an expert all the time. It's probably, overrated. It's like, step back and be a non-expert for a day. Give yourself a break from trying to do that. I think it's going to be really helpful. Also, he says the key to fighting back against the constant cloud of feelings like an imposter that hang over your head. Well, imposter syndrome is like a cloud hanging over your head. Yeah. So rather than just sort of accept that, imposter syndrome is like an overcast day and foggy and misty and you can't see, it doesn't mean you can't try and look up above the clouds of your mind to the blue skies above, to the blue skies of clear thinking, and even being up a little higher and feeling a little inspired about life, and taking a step back, but from getting a higher vantage point that's going to really help you to get through that cloud of imposter syndrome. And now he's got here, I've got 6 points that he talks about. Number one, he says, first of all, to fight back against imposter syndrome, number one, acknowledge the feelings and confront negative self-talk. So I'm taking from this that if you do that, you'll be able to take control of the situation, at least bring awareness to it. Much like, let's say, in your finances, you might be in a lot of debt. You might be thinking, oh shit, where's the next paycheck coming from? But it is, rather than looking at your bank account, you should look at it. You should bring some awareness to the numbers in your finances. That's going to be the first step to taking back control. The same thing with imposter syndrome. Acknowledge and bring awareness to the feelings and the negative self-talk that you are experiencing when imposter syndrome comes up. Number two, he says, develop coping mechanisms. And he says to replace these ruminations with stories of all the great things you've accomplished in your life and your career. That's a great thing. So I'm saying, in addition to that, just as you believe your imposter syndrome story to be true, even though it's not based on reality, and even when there are facts in your face that say you have got expertise, accomplishments, and you give great value to the world, even if you do have those facts, that you can use your imagination to your benefit. Okay, tell yourself a better story. Imagine a better story. You can say, yep, okay, sometimes I feel like an imposter, and you can tell yourself that story. Go for it. But I'm saying balance it up. Tell yourself a positive story. Like, you've got this story over here of, I feel like a fraud, and you believe it. Okay. So why not just go over here and imagine the opposite, that you are an authentic expert, that you are truly confident, and believe in it. Make it up. Essentially, imposter syndrome is kind of pretending that you are a fraud. So I'm saying pretend that you're confident. You have to admit logically that that's how it's working. You are believing, you're making up that you are an imposter. Make up that you're a confident, authentic expert. Number three, he says, share your feelings. And I would just say, yep, definitely do that. Find a mentor, find a group. You can join the School of Self-Worth Facebook group, and I will be there every day to support you, to help you share your feelings. That's a great thing to help fight imposter syndrome. Number four, he says, nobody is great at everything all of the time. And also, you certainly don't make mistakes all of the time, nor do you feel like a fraud in all areas of your life all of the time. Usually people feel like an imposter when it's regarding their intelligence or their accomplishments, their achievements. Sometimes in their relationships, they feel like, they don't deserve that the person they're with, or they don't deserve the friends they have. They minimize themselves. But if you look into other areas of your life, you actually have self-esteem or high self-worth in those areas, and it never bothers you. But it's just the accomplishments and achievements area of your life that imposter syndrome usually attacks. So look at your whole life, look at a wider scope and go, well, I've actually got plenty of strengths in other areas of my life. And let's go to number five. He says use the power of positive self-talk. And he makes this analogy to how pro athletes will sometimes drop the ball. But do they quit? No, they don't. They focus on their career as an athlete and they keep going, and neither should you. If you're an imposter and you feel like, if you have a day where you just think, oh my God, I screwed up, and you suddenly feel this anxiety of people are going to find out, just remember tomorrow's a new day, people, and your career is going to be long. Okay, there's going to be more mistakes, but there's going to be some times where you crush it, where you have successes. Remember that. So have a balanced point of view. Number six, he says, don't be too hard on yourself. I could sing a song about how many times I've been hard on myself. I tell you that you should ease off on that. Okay. So he says, treat yourself like you would do someone who you really care about. And actually, Dr. Jordan Peterson, Canadian psychologist, in his book, 12 Rules for Life, one of his rules is don't compare yourself to who others are today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. It's a much nicer way. You know how we always try and compare ourselves to other people and say, oh my gosh, I'm not where they are at today. But we kind of forget that maybe they've got like decades more experience than us. But you can always lift yourself up by going, okay, who am I today and who was I yesterday or last year? Have I improved? That can be a way to boost yourself up and say, I can see my growth, and assume that your growth is going to continue. And he also said there's no need to feel that you have to be awesome and you have to be an expert at everything. Okay. You don't have to be. It's okay. So remember remember that being an expert and is accepting that your path is going to be filled with trials, errors, innovations, surprises, and an element of improvisation will be required on your part. It basically means you have to make stuff up as you go along, all in your stride, right? And that's totally fine. So I believe that improvisation, creativity, and making things up and pretending things is one of imposter syndrome's flip side qualities. Okay, to make things up, to believe things that are not real. That's a great quality, and you can use that to your advantage. Okay, so imagine or improvise your own authentic expertise. Improvise your own confidence, and I think you're going to have a greater chance at fighting imposter syndrome. All right, everybody, I've had a great time chatting to you about this article. And if you would like a free gift, if you'd like to crush imposter syndrome, go to samosborne.com/starter kit. I've got the Crush Imposter Syndrome Starter Kit for Bulletproof Confidence, samosborne.com/starter kit. And I invite you to join the School of Self-Worth Facebook group. Come and say hi. And that article, how to fight imposter syndrome, how to fight back against imposter syndrome, really great article. I wish everybody a great week. See you later.